These are all available through HL Flake. Right now, currently, I'm going to be installing the maglock at the top of the door. Both of these doors were really unique because they're not the conventional 36 inches. They were more like 28, maybe even a little more narrow than that. But here we're going to be installing the maglock on the door jamb and the top of the left-hand door. First thing you want to do is make sure that you tape everything off, tape your instructions up. This was actually a little bit different mounting. I'm not 100% sure exactly what model this was, but it did seem like it was more of a value model, and it actually relies more on the self-tapping screws holding a block that the maglock mounts to at the top of the header, as opposed to using riv nuts or blind nuts. It uses about 8 self-tapping screws, so a little bit different system, little different design, but it will definitely work. Right now we're mounting the plate or the mag plate to the door. This one was giving us a little bit of trouble. We could actually feel that we were hitting one of the truss rods, so we decided to come back and mount it just a little bit lower so that we'd miss that truss rod in the top. We have the plate mounted now, and now I'm mounting the top plate to the header. This is where the maglock will actually interlock with it, and it will actually bolt to this particular plate. And then you can see 2, 4, 6, 8 self-tapping screws. Actually, there's probably even a couple more. There's more like 10. So you can see the notches and the grooves lined out there. It's a very low profile installation and a low profile lock, and it mounted very well. Here we have the Securitron Asa Abloy parts that we're going to be using for the panic hardware. There's the maglock plate mounted and the maglock, of course, mounted. Here we have a Touch Sense Bar, and this will actually have to be cut down. If you want to know if you can actually cut a Touch Sense Bar, you can. I'm going to be cutting this with a circular saw and a Diablo metal cutting blade. Steel Demon is the actual term. Nice clean cut. Get your file, rake off all any edges. Here you can see, makes a nice clean cut. File off all your edges, and then take your screws and run them down in. The screws actually just screw into those channels, and that's it. You can see the screws in place here as we put that plastic cap back on. No issues whatsoever. I was not sure that you could cut this panic bar down, being as it is a Touch Sense bar. However, we were definitely able to do so. It says right on the box that you can. We're going to be mounting that Touch Sense bar onto this particular door right here, and being able to roll with the punches and cut this bar down was what allowed us to be able to continue this installation. Otherwise, had we ordered a stock bar, it would have never worked in the first place. A couple things that need to be brought to your attention when mounting this bar is, number one, it needs to be nice and level, which we're doing now. We're measuring it. And then number two, you actually have to have the wire hole drilled before you mount the bar. Otherwise, you're going to be taking it back off. You have to have wire that runs from that Touch Sense bar into the actual door frame, over to a wire loop that's protected in a steel coil that goes over into the frame, over to the power supply, and allows the system to operate. Why are we using a Touch Sense bar? We're using a Touch Sense bar because when you set up a maglock system, you have to have a way to get out. Normally, when you have a panic bar, you have to have 2 forms of egress, one being a REX or a motion sensing device mounted at the top of the header, and then you would have to have a push to exit as well in order to make it compliant with the system. If you use a Touch Sense exit bar, then you don't have to have the 2 devices. It's cuts power. There's 2 separate forms. There's actually a push to exit right on the panic bar itself. So if you touch the panic bar, it cuts power, cuts the maglock, and allows you to exit. No pushing, no mechanical parts, no moving parts. It's a very long-term easy to use system that doesn't hardly have any moving parts whatsoever. If you install it without this system, then you need to make sure that you have your Rex and your push to exit button. There is a push to exit mounted on this panic bar as well. There's a red button on the inside that allows you to push it, and it permanently cuts power so that you can exit in the event of an emergency. Here we're back to what I said before, make